What's up, Chris here. Doing an update on the 75-gallon mixed African cichlid and hybrid rose queen. So 50-gallon water change. There's a lot of sediment at the bottom of this tank. It's hard to get to it. Fish are doing well. Just cleaned the glass with razor blade and mag float that I put polyfiber on there, and it works just like that. So I added 8 sponges just to increase, because there's bad sediment down here, and it's just very hard to get deep in the substrate. But so water changes, I try to do it every week. In this tank, I try to do it before a week, but you know, time plays out when you have things to do. So before I just did this tank, and there's I got Kedsons in here. They're power heads for like a sump or something, but those pump 500 and something gallons per hour, and I have 2 in this tank, and then 2 maxi jets. Just before and I cleaned the glass, they were both over here, so I kind of spread them out so they get an equal circulation of the aquarium. So for Tetra Whisper, I think there's 60, 90 or something like that, gallons per hour, or air per hour. So there's 8 outlets, and they're all being used. So this is a hybrid rose queen. It's probably about 7 years old that I've had it, but she does bite. But alright, so the substrate is very thick. I had 50 pounds of symmetric rings in all the filters, and then by over time I kept buying Marine Pure and putting the symmetric rings in all my substrates, just putting them in as I get more Marine Pure and keep adding up the Marine Pure. But the substrate is very live. The substrate's very good, about 6 years old, and the substrate all added to this point. But it's very, it's got all sorts of brands of different corals and stuff like that. Guys, so for filtration is Marine Pure and deep blue polyfiber for my mechanical, and then we have the sponges for chemical. But so as you can see, this is how I have my AquaClear 110 set up. At the bottom of this filter, as you can see over here, I'll show you another tank that you can see the back of it, but there's a lot of Marine Pure in this hang on back AquaClear, so lots of surface area. There's lots of Marine Pure, like I was saying, under the padding, but there's also Marine Pure on the top. But it has good flow. Usually when I change the mechanical out, and then it slows, though it's just normal. But when I clean the polyfiber, it gets lots of dirt and debris, you know, food or anything that it takes out of the water. I cut it to size, and I actually cut it from here all the way over here, and I have it the way I cut it. It fits right in, and that's about it. We'll look at the other filter now. Guys, Chris here, doing an update on the aquaiums. So they all have Marine Pure. The symmetric rings have been removed, full with Marine Pure, 8 gallons, different times of putting in, never been cleaned with tap water, always tank water. And still got the blue catcher up here. It oxygenates too. It catches some debris, but it actually helps from splashing from the water coming down like that. For lighting on this tank, I have, well, all the lights in the house, or the bulbs are replaced. I broke out the coral lights. I have 3 coral lights, on one over there, and then the other 2. But these, there is 10,000, 6,500 and then 10,000. But they have been replaced. Tetra Whisperers are on top of the tank, so you don't need check valves because they're on top. And there's 4 of these, 2 on the other side. And then my tank, I have the flash on, but my tanks have good agitation most of the time, or all the time. But yeah. It's Chris here. So we're looking at the gravel. A lot of coral in there, different types. Now when I just tore down 2 tanks and just set up one for those 2, but on one tank that's been set up for not as long as this one, it had about 25 gallons full of 25 gallons of coral and substrate pebbles, but mostly coral. And so this tank would probably be about 35 or 40 gallons of substrate, because it's got a lot of substrate. I don't have the light on, but you can see that's a lot of substrate. What's up, guys? So this is the other filter on the other tank, and you could just see how much marine pure is in this filter. For when I usually do water changes in any tank, I have so much circulation, agitation, and filtration that it clears up relatively fast. And 9 times out of 10, when I'm done with the water change and everything's running, all the pumps and the filters and the fans and all that stuff, my fish are very happy, and they love to eat after a water change. I just started doing that a couple weeks ago. But alright, it's Chris here. So just to make things clear, the Rose Queen had passed away. She was in the garage with these fish, separate tanks, but the garage is not a good idea, especially when the sun is hitting it. It really beats on the garage and gets hot. But that mostly just took her life out of, you know. But we buried her and under a big sage tree, so we'll see. But alright, so what was I gonna say? So that was for the queen. The convicts, Jack Dempsey, and parrotfish as the other tank. So I merged them both, and I got about 25 gallons of substrate. This is about 25 gallons of substrate, putting it in buckets. So I'm feeding the fish New Life Spectrum, and I'm beginning to feed seaweed salad by Sally's, and I'm just mixing that in there different times. But the New Life Spectrum is what they've been eating, and for a water change, say, I've done about 170, almost 180 water changes in about a year and 2 weeks. Sounds right? About a year and 2 weeks. So it's hard to put it that way, but it's about a year that I've done almost 180 water changes in that many time. I kind of feed heavy with the Spectrum, but keeps the fish happy and healthy. But I have these 2 filters on this side just to keep the bacteria alive in the media, but we'll